First thing I guess I really wanted to touch base with you is you called us. We didn't call you. How come you felt that it was necessary for you for Chris Novoselic to call CFOX and ask us for an interview?
Well, I'm so happy that so many people really care about Nirvana, and Nirvana means so much to so many people, and so I called a radio station that plays a lot of Nirvana. And when I first came of age, the late 80s, early 90s, and, being part of the music scene, I wasn't a very political person. I mean, I was aware of what was going on in the world, and, I read newspapers and, watched the news and, listened to the radio. And then I started to get involved politically in a direct way around music issues in Seattle, Washington.
What was it? Can I interrupt just for a second?
Sure.
And maybe was there a specific incident? Was there a point where you went, okay, I need to be involved? Did it have to do with maybe what happened to Zia Zapata, if I get the name right?
That was horrible. What happened with Mia Zapata?
Mia Zapata, excuse me.
And that was out of a tragedy that the music community came together and supported the survivor's family and came together as a community and wouldn't accept something like that. And so we came out strong. And as far as the government went in a different issue, a whole different thing, was there was laws in the city of Seattle and the state of Washington that made it very difficult for people, not only 18 and younger, but adults between the ages of 18 and 20, couldn't go see most live music events.
Why?
Because of misguided effort by the government to, I guess, make the city safer. Somehow rock and roll shows and hip-hop shows or, live music shows were dangerous for young people. And we know that that's not the case. And, danger lurks everywhere, but...
Was it because Seattle was particularly, violent at this time, or?
No, not at all. What happened was that there was a club run in Seattle in the early 80s, and it wasn't run very well. And as a matter of fact, it was kind of a place where people were cruising for illicit sex, and their drugs were being sold. And so, as a reaction to that horrible situation, the government overreacted and passed sweeping legislation.
Okay.
And basically kind of wiped out most all-ages music events.
And this is when you finally looked in the mirror and said, you know what, I'm in a position here where I can probably do something about this.
Exactly. And Seattle music was gaining fame internationally. I mean, we put Seattle on the map. I mean, all over the world, people know Seattle music at the time. Soundgarden, Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains, so many bands. And yet, we weren't getting any respect from our local government. And we looked around and we looked at ourselves, like just what you said, Neil, looked in the mirror, and we saw what our assets were, and that we were independent business people working in the free enterprise system. We're members of our community. We care about our community. We care about young people. A safe environment is good for everybody. It's good for society. It's good for business. We want to have strong communities.
And let's just face facts. Again, sorry to interrupt, Chris, but I mean, you know what? Rock and roll is about being young. Rock and roll is about discovering. Rock and roll is about seeing a band, being influenced by that band, going home, telling your parents you want to buy a guitar, and playing music.
Right, or going to a live show, and like any good art, it welcomes you inside. You're like lost in the show. Here these people are channeling some kind of muse. It's your favorite music. There's an energy there. The band's pumped up. The audience is pumped up. And it's this transient beauty that manifests itself at the best shows for people. It's like magic.
Mm-hmm.
And to have the government come in and really recklessly regulate that, it really didn't make sense. So what I did and what our music community did is we came together, we started knocking on the doors of the halls of power, And one thing led to another. It took a lot of time and a lot of work, but now I'm proud to say that Seattle indeed does have an inclusive music community that's open to people of all ages. And so what I discovered was that, yes, democracy can work if you stick with it and you present yourself in a mature, straight-ahead way. You can get things done. But along the way, I discovered some negatives about democracy, especially American democracy. And indeed, while the halls of government are open and it's inclusive by design, the fundamental act of democracy, casting your vote, a lot of times for a lot of people is meaningless.
Well, or they feel it's meaningless, and I'm going to be honest with you, Chris. I am one of these people who feel that way. I'm in my 30s. I have, like you, live in a democratic society, and that gives you the opportunity to go and vote for the person that you believe is the best leader for what your beliefs are. But I got to the point myself where I couldn't tell the difference between in your case, the Republicans, the Democrats, and the Green Party. I didn't know the difference. For us, it's the Liberals, Conservatives, and NDP up here.
Right.
And so rather than, and maybe it's ignorance on my part, but rather than try and find the differences, I just stopped voting.
Yeah, and that's a really poor value as a taxpayer, as someone who pays for elections. And again, you can see how government directly affects us. It's like, do we want inclusive music for people of all ages? Well, if we work to it, we can. So here in the United States, in Washington State, like in 2002, 1/3 of legislative races were uncontested, many more uncompetitive.